Howdy ho, Arkansas Pilgrim here again with another garden update, such as it is. As you can see, I actually have some things planted in the garden, finally. I've just had so many different things going on, and we can always say they're busy, but gardening requires, you got to spend time on it. You've got to make it a priority. Maybe not the top priority, but it has to be one, or you're never going to get anywhere. I got some leggy tomato plants that these ones here in these cages I made. They're Romas. I was sort of hardening them off outside. And these ones over here also. These are Perron tomatoes. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. They're indeterminate, so I've got them on these strings. I'll tell you about that in a sec. But these all got blown over yesterday in the wind, and it's like I was, forced to actually plant them before they ended up, just dying. All right. Well, what you see, let me show the other parts while I'm showing this. I got more wood chips on, which I had to do before I could plant these. And as you see, the Bermuda grass is already coming up through the compost layer that's out here. So that is going to be a never-ending battle. Some stuff that I shaded out and hopefully burned out using black plastic on top. You can see Bermuda grass there is already coming back. But hey, it is what it is, mate. Got to keep on fighting it, because there's not really anything I can do about it. Back to here, I got some tomato cages that I made myself. I didn't video it because it takes more time. So. But I had a bunch of kind of scrap wood pieces left over, and I made actually this piece right here and this piece right here are, they're like air nailed together, and then they're zip tied with just these pieces. So when I'm done with them, I'll be able to cut the zip ties and stack everything, very compact. I had some field fence tomato cages, which were great, but they just took up so much room, and weeds grew up in them, and then I finally just gave them away because I couldn't sell them, even though they were worth, they're better than the ones you buy in the store, that's for sure. But so I used, what I had, a lot of these little thin wood strips here. I've got a bunch of those, and I may end up actually making some more just out of those, even though it'll be flimsier, because I kind of ran out of scrap wood that I didn't mind cutting up and using for this. And my apologies, Sarah over at Big Blue House Home said I just had to use zip ties. I started trying to tie it with something biodegradable like cotton string, and it was extremely awkward and was going to take 2 or 3 times longer to do, and it was easier. So, what can I say? I'd rather have the string too, because it's cheaper than cutting and throwing away these zip ties and buying more. But you can only do so much. So, at any rate, those are the tomato cages I've got, and I've got I think I got 12 more Roma plants I'm going to put along here, and you can kind of see there's a string line down there. I'm going to run those next to each other. That I can reach it from either side and still have a compact garden. These here on the back, this is vertical growing for the indeterminate vines. And if this isn't me showing some positive expectation, I don't know what. That's almost 10 feet tall, because the ends, this is made of 1/2-inch conduit. You can see it's a full piece, and it's like 9 feet tall, because up at the top there you've got, actually I can't even see what I'm showing. Yeah, there, it's bent over about 1 foot at the top there for a corner. I've got a full 10-foot piece there, and another almost 10-foot piece. It was another one of these that had it had a corner on it like that, and I cut it off. It was actually a little shorter, so I got. This is actually 19 feet and just a couple inches long. And those vertical, those strings are for training the indeterminate vines up. Learned this from Mel Bartholomew and his square foot gardening method. Each plant is on, is a plant every foot. And he said that, well, you get more tomatoes per square foot this way, even though you get less per plant. Because what you do is you just train the main vine up these strings. And anytime you start to get a sucker go off the side, you pinch it off. And you just keep the main vine. And as I was saying before about being positive, that's 9 feet tall, so I'm expecting this thing to grow up and get some tomatoes. Oh yeah, and here's a cedar tree or sapling that I cut down, clearing some stuff here way back when. I think this is probably 15 years old, been leaning against the back of my shop. And made a pretty handy support for the center of this big long thing. It's taken me a while to get these things in too, because I'm doing this back to Eden garden method. I've got a layer of compost and some wood chips, and I just got those down, and I'm having to scrape the stuff out of the way first, and then dig down into the existing soil, which has been amended, but it ends up, just messing around. It ends up taking a while for each one. And yes, I mentioned Sarah at Big Blue House Homestead again. She gave me the idea of using one of these bulb planters to be able to dig holes and transplant your seedling, your plants that you've started. And I thought, hey, wow, this is even better than just a regular bulb planter. It's got kind of works like you can see it move, kind of works like a post hole digger. Well, the problem is, because it's two halves instead of a solid circle, you can even see it's not a circle anymore. It kind of gets bent up, and it's actually harder to use. It looked like a great idea because it does help pull the dirt out, but I mean, the dirt either comes out with it or it doesn't. You may have to scoop it out, and I ended up having to scoop some of it out anyway. So having to screw around with this because these edges where it pokes out the corners, it kind of hangs up because there still are a few. There's some roots and some rocks down in the soil where I'm digging it deep. If that ends up, taking extra time to dig a hole to stick the plants in. And then I have some, what have I got in here? Got some crushed eggshells, which, like they say, may or may not actually add calcium because they're, whether the calcium becomes available. I think the soil's a little bit acidic, so it might. But then I just have a bucket of water here, a little bit, scoop up some water, pour it in the hole when I dig it. So there's all these little things that just make this take so much time. I worked a couple of hours actually last night to get these, I think, 13 plants in. Of course, part of that was setting up, tying up these strings, and actually, if you'll notice, there's down on these strings down here, I've got like a little piece of an old chandelier light fixture chain that I saved for something. I needed a weight on the strings to kind of make them stay down while you still have the plants small, because they have a tendency to just unwind if you don't have something that interferes with that. So did a bunch of stuff last night. It wasn't just digging to put the plants in, but I was out here working when it was just almost pitch black. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish up now. And oh, hey, what do we have here? We got an earthworm. Hey, at least it shows that this back to Eden garden method is doing some good. All right, I'm not sure how all this footage is going to fit together that I've done of these tomatoes, but hey, yeah, I'll slop it together. It doesn't, I'm not making the Lord of the Rings. It doesn't need to be, perfectly continuous with continuity. it's taken me a while to get all of my tomato plants in, and they're not all, but it's all that I'm going to plant. Because I mean, all my sprouts came up and I don't have room for them right now. So it's just so many things have taken so much time. One of these is making these tomato cages, which end up taking a lot longer than I thought, which that happens with everything I do. But I've got like 20 Roma plants, and I've got 14 wooden tomato cages, and then 2 I made out of some wire. I mean, I don't recommend spending time making tomato cages out of wires that you pulled out of a broken deck umbrella, but hey, they'll end up working. But anyway, all this is just taking extra time, but I wanted these cages to be able to come apart so that I could store them in a very small place. And I'm going to be coming back through, and maybe you'll see it in another video, I'm going to be coming back through and screwing these in. I'm going to go get some screws, because it was just in my head to zip tie them, thinking that would be quick, and it wasn't really, and ended up using a lot of zip ties. So I'm going to get some screws, and that'll be actually easier to put them together next year. But as far as this goes, I've got 2 different kinds of Roma plants here. I've got from Baker Creek Romas, and I've got some Romas from John at Will It Grow that I got from my participation in Shed Wars 21. And the back row is the Baker Creek, and the front row is John's. I'm not sure where they're from. I'm going to get in touch with them and see, even though I'm not really part of Shed Wars anymore. But we'll see how that goes. Well, hey, I've got tomatoes in the ground, and it's not June yet. Hey, they're hot weather plants. We'll see how it goes. Next, I think I'm going to put my peppers in, or at least some peppers in this little spot right here. We'll see. But hey, that's it for now. God bless y'all. God bless your gardening. See you next time.